Hello from London. We are at the end of the first plenary day of the European Conference on Education, Arts and Humanities and Gerontology. Next to me is standing Dr. Marcelo Staricoff. Thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure.
Could you briefly introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Thank you so much, Melina, for giving me this opportunity to chat after the first amazing day of the conference. I'm Dr. Marcelo Staricoff. I'm currently an assistant professor in education at the University of Sussex, and I teach on the primary and early years with QTS course, and I lead the Masters in Education course. And very relevant to today, I'm also the course leader for the visiting Bolshevik scholars that come to the University of Sussex every year from Kazakhstan.
Amazing. And you co-moderated the forum today.
Yes.
What do you think about the forum in general?
I loved it so much. Before preparing for the forum, I wasn't sure what to expect. I loved it so much, Melina. I didn't want it to stop. I thought that the way that you structured it was absolutely fabulous. The way that it flowed so well, and the way that it allowed us to make links with what had been already said on the day was so key. I love the interactivity that you included, and I think that's amazing. It's a slider you used. In using that immediacy of the thinking from the audience as an immediacy, and a very inclusive immediacy. Because if you have hands up or you just you only get a few. The way you did it today was every idea was coming on the board, and I love looking at the ideas, picking and making those links between the common values that we were discussing. I thought it was absolutely fantastic, and I could not have enjoyed it more.
I'm glad you liked it. What did you think about the topic of interdisciplinarity?
I think interdisciplinarity is at the heart of making the world function. I believe, and particularly the place that education has within that interdisciplinary approach, I believe that the challenges that the world faces, the crises that we are in various modes, education can be the key that unlocks that unlocks those problems and brings people together in an interdisciplinary manner to try and find solutions. What I really value about the interdisciplinary collaborative working nationally and internationally is the way that we can learn from each other. So the way that we can invite experts from all sorts of areas, all sorts of expertise, also experiences, also of backgrounds, to all input something really special towards a common goal. What I really value is that that way of working, as the group said today, really enables us to develop the set of shared values and work towards a common solution. Or, as I said in the group, a common non-solution, because I believe that small steps and backward steps are as important as finding the solution. So it's the way that we set up those collaborations that's really key. The way that we allow ourselves for them not to go right the first time I think is really fascinating. And what we learn from those to then reflect and come back to it and find better ways of doing things to get us closer to the goal is a really fascinating prospect.
Is there anything that was said during the forum today that stood out to you?
Yes, quite a few things that were said today really stood out for me. I think the ideas that the audience presented in terms of how much they value having common goals when people are working in an interdisciplinary way really came across. and also those common goals had to be supported by a common set of values. And I thought that was really, really interesting, because we have here 70, 80 nations all represented, and everyone was, that exercise that we did at the beginning where everyone shared something of their practice and they found commonalities, even though one was in fashion and one was in law and one's really, really fascinating. What I really enjoyed, Melina, from what people were saying is how everyone felt really the buy-in into working interdisciplinary was really, really special, wasn't it? There was everybody wants to do it. Everybody, like in Paris, you talked about the barriers, and today we were looking at solutions. So everybody was trying today to find solutions to working in that way.
One of the reasons why we asked you to be the respondent for this was your background, actually. You started with biochemistry,
yes.
And then you went on to be a head teacher at school. Then you were engaged at university level, and now you're an author as well.
Yes.
So that interdisciplinary background, I think, has a lot to say about interdisciplinarity.
Definitely.
So where do you see interdisciplinarity within education, and where do you think it will be in the future?
No, it is really fascinating. My life has naturally placed me in a position of interdisciplinarity, especially coming over from Argentina to a different culture. That was having to be very multiculturally interdisciplinary. When I moved from being a scientist to primary education, I brought with me my scientific formation, my scientific way of thinking, the fact that scientists are, by definition, so comfortable with uncertainty, and we're trying to solve problems for the world. I brought that into education, and I think that's the value of an interdisciplinary formation or background, that one's able to draw from everything that we have learned through the interdisciplinary to then have really interesting insights in the new profession. When I started to teach little ones in primary school, I wanted to create the conditions in the classroom that would enable them to feel and think like scientists. So I didn't want them to come into school worried about learning. I wanted them to come into school thinking that they were going to experiment with learning. And it was so magical, because then we started to develop lots of things around thinking critically and creatively and not always having the right answer, and thinking philosophically very much, and equipping them with all the dispositions and attributes that would make them effective learners. So I did a lot of work around lifelong learning dispositions in primary school. And then wanting to take that further when I became a head teacher into leadership, that approach, as I shared, I developed the idea of involving every member of staff and every child within multi-professional teams to drive the school development priorities forward. And then all that formation then allowed me to become an author as well. And Writing The Joy of Not Knowing has been the culmination of all my interdisciplinary work, which I'm now hoping is having an interdisciplinary impact, because it's a philosophy of education that's not prescriptive, but it's just based on ideas to make the students think creatively and critically and philosophically, and then develop a love of learning. And I know now that the book has been enjoyed by nurses, by doctors, by architects, by artists, so it's it's an approach to life, an approach to lifelong learning, and we're all lifelong learners, whatever our particular specialism is.
We were very happy to have you here, and thank you for your contributions to the forum, to this conference as a conference program committee member, and we hope to see you again maybe next year.
Thank you so much, Melina. It's such an honor to be part of the organizing committee for the IAFOR conferences in London. And it really is a transformational experience to be with 500 people from over 70 or 80 countries. In 2 or 3 days, the associations that we make, the links that we make, the ideas that we share, since last year have already bore so much fruit. And I think that everyone makes here very sort of lifelong associations thanks to the work of IAFOR. And the values that you hold are just so special. So thank you so much. It's a great honor to be part of this. Thank you.